A playlist original.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Back to the Blockbuster, everybody. Episode 147, a conversation that we've been saving for a while. Been very looking forward to talking about physical media today. It's your hosts, Gaius and Jackson, joined by very special guests. We've got Ken from Mid Level Media. Ken, I'll open the floor to you to give yourself a little plug and what you're here to talk with us about today.
Yeah, like I said before we started, thank you all for having me on. And I'm Ken with Mid Level Media. And basically, what I do on my channel is I talk about movies and Blu-rays and 4Ks until my face falls off. I try to share my passion for movies through the lens of collecting and physical media. So if you subscribe to my channel, it's a lot of collecting based content. I always try to actually talk about the films themselves that I'm getting in as well. But it is mostly collector centric on my channel. I do a lot of like new upcoming announcements. I do reviews of 4K discs, Blu-rays, and all that kind of stuff, haul videos, and it's all physical media all the time. I try to put a video out every day, so try to stay prolific on my channel and keep it active. So, but yeah, basically what I do.
That's great. And I can see for maybe people that are listening only and can't see, but you got quite the impressive collection there behind you. I'm just curious, What's your most prized possession?
Oh my goodness. Off the top of my head, honestly, like my most prized possession isn't even a Blu-ray or 4K. It's that DVD set of A Nightmare on Elm Street.
Nice.
And
I have that one. I have that one too, actually, somewhere.
I bought it back in 2004, 2003 at a Suncoast Video, and I've hanged on to it. I purged like my entire DVD collection like back in 2015, but I hung on to the Nightmare on Elm Street one.
Nice.
But that's a big thing in the collector community right now. We're all pushing to get that Nightmare on Elm Street 4K or even Blu-ray box set at this point. But besides that, I'll say the Rocky Steelbook set. I love that set as well, and I love all those. Not the Rocky, but Rambo. Sorry.
Okay, right on.
Yeah, Rambo.
Yeah.
I wish Rocky had a Steelbook set like that, but it doesn't.
I'm a huge fan of First Blood. Like the OG is like one of my favorite 80s movies. So.
I think pound for pound, that's like the best movie of the 80s. I feel like
I'm not arguing that at all. It's up there for me too. That's awesome.
Yeah, love that set.
We did before Jackson was a permanent co-host on the show. We did a physical media episode with Jeff from Films at Home, and the conversation was a little different then because it was. And I also want to know how you got started with your channel and collecting and all that stuff. But a lot of the episode was focused on how he got his start and how he got into the YouTube space and all that. And we had a good conversation about physical media, but a lot of has changed since we did that episode at the end of 2022.
Lots changed in the past year.
Yeah,
media for sure.
And I think that's why we really wanted to do another episode like this because Jackson and I are big. We love physical media. I mean, your space, it looks crazy compared to mine, and I thought mine was cool.
You should see the other side of the camera. I've got crap everywhere all over the floor. I just bought a new shelf. I got it in the mail today, so I got some reorganizing to do.
I gotta get a new one for sure because I have all these I have other 4Ks and Blu-rays actually stacked up against the wall because I get a lot of them through work and it's not a bad problem to have, but I'm running out of space.
It always seems to happen at the end of the year because fall's so crazy. There's so many great releases, and I have crap just all over the room by the time we go into the new year. And I'm like, all right, it's the new year. I need to reorganize everything. So.
Yeah, I'm not working with the greatest space for my collection, so I don't really feature it in our background here. It's been something I've been meaning to work on, and I think I'll probably be inspired to because of this episode. All mine are currently in my closet in a little space below my hangers, but it's not featured. But I also am an avid collector as well. I haven't counted. I don't even know if it's even meaningful at this point, considering the size of your guys' collections. If you guys know a number, but mine is still low enough you could probably quantify. I'd put it at 650 right now.
Yeah, but, I'm so disorganized over
Same
here.
It's hard.
It looks organized, and that's because every year I try to reorganize it. But like I like the process of reorganizing stuff, but it's very hard for me to actually set aside the time to do
Time
it.
consuming, exactly,
It's
right?
time
Because it
consuming.
is very
Oh,
time
man.
consuming. But
Just curious while we're talking about it, how is there any rhyme or reason to how you have your collection organized behind you there?
I mean, right there is like all 4Ks. I try to keep my 4Ks together.
Okay.
Blu-rays are like over there and they're in alphabetical order. The 4Ks are in alphabetical order. And then I've got boutiques like Criterions and Screen Factories. And behind me, you'll see like an entire shelf of Arrow Video, Vinegar Syndrome. I try to separate by labels
Okay.
and
Nice.
I used to do genres back when I was first like getting into collecting, but that can get very messy very quick
yeah.
because
Yeah.
so many movies have crossover genres and it's like, what is this? And, but
I used to do that. I used to do that in alphabetical order, and that was hard.
I think that's how we all start, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I was
yeah.
alphabetical.
Yeah.
Now I try to do by director, but that just falls apart after I get into movies where I only have like by one director's movie, and how does that make any sense? But
alphabetical
Yeah.
just sucks to
Yeah.
like you get a brand new stack of movies, you know, every month, and it's like now I got to move over the entire shelf to be able to slot those, and
yeah,
I try to give myself room every time I do it throughout the year, but yeah, I give up on alphabetical. Like when I reorganize it, I'll do the alphabetical, but throughout the year, like I'm not moving stuff all year long.
I just try to make it make sense. Like I don't want you to find like Hellraiser in the middle of
Yeah.
like the Little Mermaid or something, like where they like don't go or they like don't go together.
Right.
So that's
Yeah.
all I try to do. That's why I think genre.
Well, that's
can
the
work
problem when you
in
run it and
organized-
do
yeah.
alphabetical because I've got kind of
Yeah,
loose
that's true.
alphabetical. I'm not doing like the second letters and really,
Okay.
I'm just all C's are together. So I may have like the Child's Play movies next to Casablanca or something like that. You know,
Okay,
and
I
it just
see.
it just doesn't make any, to me, it doesn't make sense in my head to see that together on the shelf.
Yeah, one thing I've been experimenting with, and I'm thinking about maybe doing. I might change my mind when I get around to trying it. But I was thinking about doing like chronological release per studio, starting from like do all my Warner Brothers in terms of like when they were released, and then my
Oh.
Paramounts. And
I'm actually like, I would love to do, you know, by release date. Like I always, when I'm thinking of movies, I always think of them by when they came out, the dates they came out.
Exactly.
That's where my mind always goes. I would love to have like a 40 section, a 30 section, 50s, 60s, you know.
that would be pretty neat.
But I
Yeah,
couldn't
pretty good.
stand like not having all my boutiques together. Like I like
That-
the way my arrows look together. So if I started mixing arrows and then steelbooks and then 4Ks, I don't know. It could get messy.
Like Gaia said, it's a good problem to have, but it's definitely it can be strenuous for sure.
Yeah,
my
but I
friends
mean,
were like, they're just sitting on the floor, man. You got to get another thing. I was like, I know.
like my collection current last time I like really counted, I think it was a little bit over 3,000. I would say 3,500 if I had to guess, but I know people that have much larger collections. They have it all tracked in like an app and they know exactly
wow.
what they have. And one thing I'll say is I've grown this collection in a pretty relatively short amount of time. Like I really just got back into collecting Blu-rays like back in 2016. And this is something that people warned me about back in like 2018, 2019. I was like, I'll be okay. I know where to find stuff. I know where this movie is. I know what I have. I don't need to track it.
Oh boy.
Like as it's gotten bigger, I have found myself accidentally rebuying movies that
I even
already
do that.
had in my
under 700.
collection. So
yeah.
it is becoming a problem.
I just want to
That's
interject
funny.
before I forget. What do you happen to know, or do you have any recommendations for like movie logging apps in terms of like for physical media? Because I would love to get on that while it's feasible.
I forget. People send them to me all the time. Like my subscribers are always, they try to be very helpful. Like there's this app, there's this app. I know Blu-ray.com has an app for logging movies.
Okay.
And I try to like sit down and do it, but like it just takes forever.
I still
just
might
don't
have a
the patience
chance,
for it.
right?
Yeah.
If any come up after the show, feel free to send them our way. I might experiment, but if anyone's listening and wants to DM us too, I would love to.
There's really intricate ones, but you'll have to pay. Like it's like a $5 a month kind of fee,
well.
and I'd rather not pay. But
I
some
feel
of them
that.
sound pretty good. The way the functions and different things, features they can do. But
That's awesome. Yeah, I think I first came across you via G Reels, via the Instagram stuff on your like Instagram page first. And honestly, your posts for new releases every week still like that. Those are like my highlights of like, oh, like what do I need to get?
yeah,
What did I already get? And
Yeah,
sometimes
I
I'll
was
forget. I'll forget sometimes, like, oh yeah, that came out today. Like, I'll just add it to my list, and that is mostly from finding it. I have other pages I follow that are similar to yours, but yours pops up the most, and I'm like, oh, they're all right here. Everything I need for like that's coming out on Tuesday is like right here, and
yeah.
let me add these
I
to
used
my
to just do
Amazon
like
cart.
the highlights of the week, but now I try to do everything that comes out. I try to put in those weekly posts. But yeah, I was trying to think about when I first found you on Instagram, and I used to have another account. It was called Mid-Level Movie Reviews, and
Yep.
this is before YouTube, and I just like reviewed new movies and stuff in the written form on there, and also posted Blu-rays and all that. But I think it was like maybe 2018 or something, 2019 when
Yeah,
I
I
found your
think
page.
somewhere
So
around.
yeah,
Yeah, been a
we've been
while
following
now.
each other
Yeah,
for a while, but then I started the new account, so I rarely get on that old one anymore.
yeah. Speaking of the YouTube thing, how did you get started? And what made you want to do it? And did it feel kind of daunting to get into it, or
Yeah.
what was that all like?
I mean, that was kind of the plan when I first started Instagram. It was just before that, like I was literally watching movies and just like writing reviews in like a notebook, just like my thoughts on it. And I was getting into like watching, I didn't know people were talking about movies on YouTube before like 2015. So when I started discovering places like Collider and Screen Junkies and Chris Stuckman and all those people, Flick Pick, and
Yeah.
I just kind of got sucked into all that, and I started watching more movies and being more analytical and critical of movies and writing down my thoughts. And I was like, what if I just like posted my thoughts on an Instagram page or something? And I thought I was being very original, that nobody else was doing that. And then when I started to do that more, it kind of opened up this whole new world of other people on there doing the exact same thing. And I kind of fell into the movie community. And then I fell into the collector pages, people posting these really nice, like boutique edition Scream Factory titles, Arrow Video titles. I'm like, what the hell is this crap? I'm like, this is awesome. Like, this artwork's incredible. And then I started to find like Scream Factories at Walmart and places like that. So that's kind of how I fell into the world of collecting and getting back into, because I had always bought DVDs and Blu-rays at Walmart, Target on the shelf, but I wasn't like, I wouldn't have considered myself a collector. I was just buying the movies that I liked.
Right.
But once I got into that world a little bit more, I kind of stayed. I wanted to do YouTube, but I was very timid, getting on camera and talking to people and doing this. It's a whole different thing than just writing your
Yeah.
thoughts down and posting them
Amen.
up.
Yeah, it was a
It's
big shift for me too, joining the podcast and having your
Yeah.
face out there and your voice. It's definitely different than just doing it from the screen.
And then like
Yeah.
editing and all that stuff is like, it was just so daunting. I didn't even know. I try to keep it easy on myself. Even now, like I'm using the same phone that I started with. I do all my editing on my phone. I shoot all my videos on my phone.
Wow.
What I don't do on my phone, I do on my laptop, like live streams and things like that. I've got a very basic way that I do everything, but it's worked for me thus far. I probably need
say.
to upgrade and change some stuff. I honestly need a new phone. But yeah, I just it was before the pandemic happened. I think I fell in love with the Blu-ray hunting videos. That was the first thing. Like Cool Duder and I think Stuckman and Flick Pick would do the hunts and stuff too, but people like Durant Cinema, Wet Movie One, people going out in the stores every week. I thought that was super cool. And that was the stuff that was the kind of content I wanted to make at first. So I was doing like little
Right.
Blu-ray hunts and unboxing videos, and I did some movie reviews, in the beginning of the channel as well. I was just kind of throwing everything at the wall and seeing what stuck.
Yeah.
But when the pandemic happened and I couldn't watch any new movies, that's when I kind of just dove more headfirst in the physical media, because there were still new releases coming out every week when there wasn't new movies. So I kind of abandoned the doing movie reviews thing, and I just went all in on, doing my weekly show, the Physical Media Report. That kind of helped the channel grow a lot in the first couple of years, where I just kind of break down everything new that's coming out and cover new announcements and make it like an all-in-one kind of news reporting show. And then, yeah, I just started hitting it hard, man, every single day, putting a video out, and that's what got me more comfortable on the camera.
Nice. How long does it
So-
take you to make your average video for your YouTube channel?
It depends. My Monday videos, I usually spend like 6 or 7 hours on that, just gathering all the notes and shooting it and editing it. But if it's like a review, I can probably film that, edit that in a couple hours, I'd say.
Nice.
Or just like a basic haul video, I can, as long as I don't mess up too much. You know, some days I'm stumbling a lot, but if it's a clean video, I could get it done, and depending on how long it is, in like 30, 45 minutes.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, that's impressive, man. It's a lot of work and a lot to, I mean, like from what, like, I remember when Jeff was on the show and he was telling me about what he does, and yeah, doing this is, I mean, it's not like it's like incredibly easy, but compared to all the work that people put into doing their videos and all that stuff, it's so much more work. And like a lot of the, like most of us, they're doing this on top of their, jobs as well, or whatever, whatever they're doing with their like normal kind of everyday lives. They're fitting this in because they really love doing it, but it does take a lot of work and a lot of time, and you have to really love what you're doing to really,
I mean, my thing with the channel and with Instagram is I've always just tried to make it easy as possible on myself. That's why I edit on my phone, because if I got 2 kids, I got a wife, I got a full-time job, so I need to be able to edit on the go. I can't be stuck behind a computer all day doing all kinds of fancy editing stuff. I'm on the go, so I'm editing in the car when I'm picking my kids up from school. Like anytime I can get stuff done for the channel, I'm doing it. Any free moment I have, I'm spending it editing or working on a thumbnail or doing something, and it's pretty much all through my phone.
Right on. Yeah, it is quite the dedication. I can relate to what you say about the daunting feeling that comes with being responsible for all of your own editing and posting and publishing and whatnot, because like we're trying to break out into YouTube this year, and so that'll be something that we will be learning with editing our own videos and stuff. And I got to admit, like, where I don't have any experience in all this stuff, Gaius handles stuff behind the scenes, and I'm working on catching up, and we're going to be sharing the load a little bit more when it comes to our promotion, and completely relate to that. But again, when it comes to something that you love doing, it at least it shouldn't feel like work. It really should feel like it is work on top of work, but you do really got to love and be passionate about it to make it work.
It's been incredibly, rewarding. I did not think that I'd be where I'm at now on the channel. I thought I might be lucky to get 500 people that would want to subscribe to the channel.
I'd say you've surpassed that.
I still don't understand why people subscribe, but they do.
22,000.
I try to be genuine. I try to show passion, and I love this stuff. Like all the stuff behind me, like I genuinely love it. So it's easy to get on camera and just I could talk for hours, but I talk too much. Like my videos are way too long as it is.
That's something we're working with too. Something we have in common for sure is we could yabber forever.
Like there's definitely channels that you'll watch them and they've got some real sharp, like slick editing, and they're doing clips and just all this fancy stuff. My channel is not that. It's very basic. I make sure my stuff's edited. I don't, keep in like if I mess up, I don't leave that in or nothing. I try to edit stuff around and keep it clean, but it's very basic, very basic.
Well, it's interesting.
Mid-level media. That's the idea of mid-level media.
Keep it simple.
I was wondering where you came with the name.
Well, it's interesting that you mentioned that you thought maybe 500 people would be interested, and as it turns out, way more than that are interested in what you had to say. So clearly, there is an audience that enjoys what you're sharing, and then also there's an audience that is interested in still collecting physical media and what knowing what they should get and what they should own. So is it strange for you to kind of see this kind of narrative that's out there that this is kind of like a dying medium when it seems like there are so many people that are so interested in it?
I would never say physical media is dying. It's definitely dwindling in the mass interest.
That makes me feel good that you don't think it's dying.
The people that are interested in this and that are subscribed to my channel, like they're a very passionate bunch. Like the people that are into this stuff are like really into it. That's why a lot of people say it's kind of more of a collector's market now. The people that are interested in this stuff, like you got to be interested in like the Arrow videos and the Vinegar Syndromes and the Criterions and Screen Factories at this point, because the regular people that are just going to the stores and buying Blu-rays, they're few and far between. And most of them are buying DVDs still. I know people that I work with that never watched a Blu-ray. They still
That's
watch
crazy.
DVDs, or they go to the library and rent DVDs. They don't even have Netflix, so that's still a thing that I've run
That's
into.
crazy.
But
Hmm.
it's I don't think it's dying in the sense that it's going to go away like anytime within the next 5 or 10 years.
That's
I
good.
can't speak to what's going to happen in 20, 30 years. I mean, who knows what's going to
Yeah.
happen by then, but I think we're good to have a good solid 10 more years of incredible physical media releases. And after that, I think we'll still have something. There'll still be companies and labels still trying to license stuff and put out movies, but it's definitely going to probably dwindle down in the next few years for sure.
And I suppose with that dwindling, do you agree we can probably expect to see these prices increase for these special releases and physical copies?
And that's the thing is if it moves more towards the collector's market, more towards the boutique labels, you're going to get more of a premium product. With a premium product comes a premium cost. So I expect that. I mean, some of these labels, like you take Kino Lorber, for example, like their costs they're very very fairly cost for what they are. They put out new 4K releases, and you can get them for $25, and when they do their sales, they're like $18. But you buy something from an Arrow Video, like the Psycho 4-film collection, like this is going to cost you. Actually, this really isn't bad for what you get. This was like $65, I think.
That's not bad. Yeah.
Not bad for what you get, but yeah, some of these labels like Vinegar Syndrome, Severin, like you got to sell a kidney to buy from those guys these days. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I can't speak to what's going to happen with the studios, in the next 5-10 years. Will they still be putting out stuff? Because right now, like Warner Brothers and Paramounts, and they're all putting out these 4Ks, and then 2 or 3 months later, they're marked down to like $10 or $12. So
wow.
it doesn't feel like they're selling that well if they're marking them down that quickly. But they're still doing basic releases, and it's like people are going to grow out of just wanting regular releases in a plain slipcover with no special features. In some cases, half-assed 4K transfer restoration, like the boutique labels just do a better job. In most cases, they just do because they care more about the actual film, which is funny. You'd think the actual studio would care about their history and legacy more than the boutique labels, but the boutique labels are fans. Like they're film fans, they're film nuts, and they know these movies frontwards and backwards. And the people that Disney and Warner Brothers are hiring these days, they don't know anything.
Ain't that the truth?
They don't know nothing about the history of the studios they're working at. So yeah, like I said, I don't think it'll die altogether anytime soon, but it's you're definitely going to see the shift from the mass market to the more niche boutique collectors market for sure.
I suppose that's to be expected.
Most of this stuff's going to be online. Walmart's going to do a big push for a couple of years, probably with physical media, but I could see them getting rid of it altogether in the next couple of years too, just like Best Buy.
Do you think they're going to be pushing that to fill that gap that Best Buy is leaving behind, or is that just going to be a trend that we see from a lot of big box stores?
I think initially you'll see them pick up the slack for Best Buy. You're already seeing them. They're flooding Steelbooks, and they're doing all kinds of Steelbook announcements and stuff, Walmart exclusives. And I think they see that the demand is still there right now. But I'm telling you right now, people are not going to want to. Some people just don't like the experience of buying from Walmart. They just don't, and they don't trust them. They don't trust they're going to deliver their Steelbooks in good condition. And I don't think they're going to have as good a business selling Steelbooks at Walmart as Best Buy did selling Steelbooks. So I think because of that's going to die off pretty quickly. I can see Walmart ramping up Steelbooks this year. Next year, I can see it dying down a little bit.
That's crazy.
But that's just what I think. I could be completely wrong. I'm a nobody.
I feel like you might be right, though. I mean, it seems like it's headed in that direction.
Yeah,
for the most part. What were your thoughts when you heard about Best Buy no longer be selling physical media yet?
I don't think that it means the death of physical media, but it also doesn't mean that physical media is in a great spot without Best Buy. They're in
Yeah.
a way better spot with Best Buy than they were without it. I mean, I did a video a few weeks ago. It was like 5 ways that Best Buy leaving physical media is going to impact physical media negatively. And I think there's a lot of reasons why not having Best Buy anymore is going to impact physical media negatively. One, like I said, people just they don't want to shop at Walmart. not for their premium steel books. They just trust that Best Buy was going to deliver the product a little bit better, even though Best Buy had their issues as well. But yeah, I just Best Buy, they housed a lot of these boutique labels and stuff like that. So it's definitely not good for them because they were getting public exposure that they weren't getting anywhere else. So like Arrow Video was in Best Buy, Screen Factory was in Best Buy. Other boutique labels were sold through the Best Buy website, and Walmart and Target wasn't doing that. So I don't know. I don't think it's a good thing, I guess is what I'm saying, that Best Buy is exiting. And I think that's going to lead to a higher cost as well because of less competition,
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it was interesting because like when they announced it, I was like, oh, okay, well, they're not just going to do it in stores. And then when they described it further, they're like, oh no, they don't even want to do it online anymore. And I was like, oh, they just want to completely get rid of it. And I mean, I guess you kind of see it coming because like the Best Buys, the 3 of them that are near where I live, those sections were gradually disappearing from their stores. They were just used to have like a big display as soon as you walked in of all the new releases, and then that slowly was like
it's
gone.
been a gradual decrease for the past few years. I mean, when I started going there regularly, in 2016, 2017, when I really started getting back into this stuff, it was a few aisles of movies that I got to walk down and just all kinds of cool stuff.
You guys don't know how good you got it over here in my town. I'm from small town, New Brunswick, Canada, Ken. And my city service, like we probably have somewhere between 80, 90,000 people in our Best Buy for as long as I can remember it being there, because it was a Future Shop for a long time when I was a kid. And then it was Best Buy for the last maybe 8 to 10 years. And it's never had anything close to multiple aisles of a physical media section. So that's what I got to work with around here. We have one store in our mall dedicated to physical media. And beyond that, we have a little section at Walmart, a little section at Best Buy, but to have aisles would be fantastic. But yeah, no, it seems if you're using Fredericton, New Brunswick as like the litmus test, it seems like it's in dire straits for the state of physical media. That is, I know that's a smaller comparison, but I envy you guys and the selection that you guys have there for sure.
Yeah, I definitely, I hear because I have a lot of Canadians subscribed to the channel, and I'm always hearing the horror stories from Canada, how they have to pay $50 or $60 to get a good steel book over there, and definitely some hardships up there for sure.
I can't tell you the last time I just genuinely came across a steel book. Like we have another little small shop that has at least a good selection of Criterion, so I'm grateful for that. But no steel books, nothing like some of the other companies that you've mentioned. I've never even seen with my own eyes around here. So
yeah, and I was just sad when I heard about it because even though they didn't have a good selection anymore, I still like going to the stores. I like the in-store shopping experience. I don't.
I'm with you.
We're all being conditioned just to sit behind our computer all day and just do everything. Order all the movies and all our needs, and we'll be grocery shopping online here in the next 10 years. We won't even get up to go to the grocery store.
Some already are.
Some people are for sure.
Instacart's huge over here.
Yeah.
That's a great point too.
I like being able to, picking the case up off the shelf, inspecting it. How's the slipcover? What's the condition? Do I got a scratch on the steel book? You're rolling the dice when you order from Amazon. It could come in great condition. I've had some good luck with Amazon, but it could also come in with the case completely smashed or the steel book bent in half. Like I've had that kind of stuff happen.
I've had to send some stuff back. Like, can you send this again, but like the right way?
Luckily, I haven't run into that. Knocking on wood over here, but I've not been ordering from Amazon very long yet. I'm still sort of new to that, to ordering more like special editions and stuff. But I did treat myself to a few on Boxing Day, and they came in great condition. So very happy there. But it's
overall, they haven't been too bad past couple of years. I've got most of my stuff in pretty good condition. I don't sweat it if I got a little dent on my slip cover. That stuff's gonna happen anyway. Just wear and tear.
But you're right. It doesn't compare to just picking it up with your own hands at the store. I agree. That's the best experience.
Yeah, it's just, and what I love about collecting the most is just the discovery. Like I don't always I do a lot of blind buying. I have to. I haven't seen all these movies back here before I bought them. Like I like discovering new movies, and some people think that's weird that I spend a lot of money on stuff I've never seen, but that's what I love about it. That's what fuels the passion to keep going for me. So there's just nothing better than walking in and browsing and, oh, this looks pretty cool, and then picking it up and buying it and checking out prices. And I don't know. I just love the in-store shopping experience. And it sucks that it's kind of fading away from existence, it feels like.
It absolutely does suck. I think that is definitely the case of what's happening. Hopefully we hold on to that a little bit longer than we think. I like your optimism, but I definitely agree that things
if I gotta rely on Walmart's, I'll be honest, it's like I'm not going to get much because they don't even restock. There was something that came out about them restocking every 2 weeks now. And I'm like, that would be great if they did it every 2 weeks. They're not doing it, but every month at my Walmart, and it's all DVDs. They don't even put Blu-rays out anymore. Everybody else has got Steelbook sections and everything else I'm seeing pop up. None of mine that I've been to I've seen that yet.
I kind of got a two-parter for you here, and it might seem obvious the impact that streaming companies have had on the collection of physical media. Is there a future, do you think, where streaming companies may capitalize on the vanishing of that market and try and pick up the slack there, release physical copies of their originals? Like I know I have a couple of Netflix Criterions of Marriage Story and The Irishman. Can you see that being a reality where streaming companies put out physical copies of their own originals?
I mean, personally, I think it's stupid that they don't.
I agree.
It just feels like money that they could be getting. Netflix, could you imagine them having their own like website, like a boutique label website where they sold their originals from their website?
That would be
like
phenomenal.
Super special editions of like Stranger Things.
I need Mindhunter on Blu-ray, man.
Mindhunter, like everything they could put. And I understand that you want a window that it's streaming only, give it if it's a 2-year window, fine, keep it on Netflix exclusively for 2 years. You need your subscribers. I get it. But after 2 years, it's like nobody's subscribing to watch a show that's 2 years old. They're subscribing for the next new thing. So do a year, 2 years. And after that, put this stuff out. Like, why do we not have Stranger Things season 3 and 4? Like they put out 1 and 2 Target exclusives, like in those cool, like VHS packages. I don't know if you all remember those.
Yep.
Those are really awesome. Like they could have a whole website just full of stuff. Netflix has so many different shows and movies that they've done.
It seems like a missed opportunity. You're right.
It does, but they get so, just hung up on they need everything exclusively on streaming. It's almost like, I mean, they started as a physical company. I mean, they were renting out physical discs.
And their last one was shipped as recently as the end of last year. Is that right?
Sometimes last year. Yeah. They finally were going to get rid of it. I remember back in the day getting like 3 movies at a time in the mail from them. And, I mean, of course that kind of, I guess, killed the video store in its own way.
And I know that like 99% of filmmakers want their stuff preserved physically.
That's right.
Yep. So all these filmmakers would love that too. And that would make more people want to work with Netflix probably. Like if they had the promise of their stuff. I mean, I understand not everything's going to be put out physically. Not everything warrants a physical release on Netflix, but I mean, it'd be nice. I mean, I wouldn't mind everything. Even if it's just a regular little Blu-ray with no slipcover, fine.
At least the options there.
But they could do all kinds of stuff that could cater to all different types of groups and peoples and markets like that. What was that trilogy they did on there? To All the Boys I Loved Before, something like that. Like, wasn't that a trilogy? They could do like a nice, like pretty box set that like catered to the teenage female audience or whatever. Like totally. they might want it. The girls collect too. Midnight Mass. I would love to have like a incredible like box set of that Mike Flanagan show.
I'm glad you bring him up because I got another question too. Like his original from Netflix from 2013, Hush, no longer, as far as we're recording anyway now, I don't think it's come back, but completely gone from Netflix. And as far as I know, it was a Netflix original. That was your only chance to see it. So how do you think that gets rectified? Are you
And that's
worried
the
about?
reason why I support the hell out of anybody that starts up a bootleg company that puts out physical releases of this stuff, like Sloppy Seconds, Stinky Tuna, all that stuff. They're doing all this. They're putting all this stuff out physically on a disc. They're doing it illegally, but they're still doing it. But if Netflix isn't going to do it, if the studios aren't going to do it, like they've got 4Ks of Barbarian, Blu-rays of that bootlegged. That never got a release for whatever reason from Disney. They just decided not to do it. It was that was like the one movie they were just like, nah, that we're good. We're not going to do a Blu-ray of that. Boogeyman though, hell yeah, that gets a Blu-ray.
That's what's
Barbarian, one of the best horror movies of 2022.
Crazy to me is that Barbarian was like a surprise hit for them. It made money. Like it wasn't like a guaranteed thing in theaters, and it did. It made money, and that is one of those releases that pops up a lot on social media where they're like, why did we never get a?
And I can't get started on Disney because I will never shut up. They're the worst company ever in the history.
I would encourage you to go off on them because I'm the same way in a lot of ways.
It's like everybody was freaking out when they did Mandalorian and Loki and WandaVision, and that was cool. You know, it was something that I wanted them to do for the longest time. You know, streaming shows that they put out physically, that was awesome. But I told everybody, I was like, this is it. Like, you ain't gonna get jack shit after these. Like, they don't care about their catalog. They don't care about Fox. They don't care about Hollywood Pictures, Touchstone. Like, they own so much and they do nothing with it. Nothing with it. They could be doing some incredible stuff that would get everybody excited about physical media again.
Why do you think that is that they don't take advantage of that?
Why I think it is, I think that the leadership in a lot of these studios now is just, they don't want anybody to own anything. They don't want them to own their movies anymore, you know, because it's not a mass thing. It's not a massive money maker like it used to be in the 80s, 90s, early 2000s. They just say to hell with it. We want streaming subscribers.
Control the supply.
That's what we want. We want people to subscribe. And that's how we're going to make our money. Because if we put it out physically, all we're doing is taking away money from the streaming services. That's what they think. And I think that Disney's leading that, but I think that you're going to see other studios follow in the footsteps, especially if you start getting studios combining, like Paramount and Warner Brothers is rumored to like combine.
That's right.
Yeah, I heard that too. Yeah.
They all start coming together. There's only like 2 or 3 studios left, and they all got their own massive streaming services, and they're just not going to. Yeah, they're not going to put anything out. They're not going to let the labels, because the boutique labels are getting a lot of stuff from Paramount, a lot of stuff from MGM and Warner Brothers and Universal. And, you know, what happens when they all start coming together and they decide to not do that anymore.
What do the little people like us do? What can we do?
Can't do anything. You got to subscribe to their freaking streaming services to get to maybe watch the movie you want, because maybe they'll have the movie you want today. They won't have it tomorrow.
That's a legitimate fear I have for the future, is exactly what you're describing.
And the people that work at these studios, if they don't know about the history, because they're hiring 20-year-olds that just, they're not educated in film history. So they don't know they don't even know what the studio owns or what they have. Then all these movies just get lost, you know, in time. So that's my fear. I think about that stuff every day. And that's why we're also desperately trying to hold on to this every single day. You know, pushing physical media, pushing, you know, I try to talk about this stuff and enlighten people on this stuff every day, because I want you to go out and try to buy everything that you want right now. Maybe you won't be able to in 10 years. And if they control all their movies on a streaming service, they're going to get to control what you watch and how you watch it.
Boy, I got to go buy more movies after this conversation, man.
At the same time, like, I don't want to scare people into like breaking themselves, you know, becoming broke and not being able to pay for stuff they need. But buy the stuff you love, at least. If you love a movie, then try to own that and buy that sooner rather than later. That's
good advice.
Yeah, it is really good. I mean, I think that what you kind of learn too with a lot of these streaming services and stuff that house some of these movies is that if there's a rights issue, or if they decide like, oh, we're not going to house it anymore, and you happen to buy it, on like a Prime Video or something like that, and they decide that they're not going to have it on their platform anymore, like you no longer own it. And so there's a big thing with ownership too when it comes to physical media. That's also really important. I think some people, when they get these movies on services like this, they don't really look at the fine print of like, oh well, I mean, I bought it on here, so I'm gonna have it forever, and that cannot be the case if there's some kind of like rights issue, or like they no longer can put it there. Like Netflix has it now, so now no longer they can have it. So like there's a lot of reasons why it's important for people to still maintain physical media and have these things that they can actually physically own it for as long as they're willing to keep it. I think
unless we rebel against this idea of digital ownership, then it's just going to continue to go until it just gets everybody. So, but here's another thing that I think about all the time. I think about, we care about this stuff because we grew up with it. The newer generations that are coming up, are they going to care about this stuff as much as we do? So we're talking 40, 50 years down the line. I got 2 kids, my kids don't care about rewatching stuff. So if nobody cares about rewatching things, if they just go see the latest Marvel movie or the latest movie in the theaters, they're like, that was great, let's move on to the next thing. That's the mindset now. But when we were kids, we were literally sitting there watching the same movie over and over again on VHS tape. You don't really have that anymore.
I think there's no such thing as reruns anymore. With the death of cable television, like that concept in a few years will seem alien to kids growing up right now. It might even to your kids, for instance, or other people, young people right now. And that's going to be something that I can imagine speaking on in the future and getting blank stares back at the concept of watching something on cable TV that came out 30 years ago and being excited for it.
There's just so much now, and YouTube as well. Like all the kids are watching YouTube.
TikTok being a big one too.
If they are watching movies and television, they don't have time to rewatch it because there's just so much other stuff to get to. So I think that when we have a generation of people that do not care about rewatching stuff, then they're not going to care about owning those things. So but what are you going to do? That's the times. We're the old people trying to hang on to the past, and that's happened since the earth began. So
I suppose you're right, but I don't feel any better.
Or who are we to say that we're right? Maybe the younger generation has it figured out.
Well,
don't waste your time rewatching stuff. There's new stuff on the horizon.
I suppose, there's something to be said about the resurgence of, like, say, vinyls and records coming back. I know we didn't see that with like cassettes, like we don't really see it with like VHSs, but I'm hoping that there is
vinyl's like actually like good quality.
Right.
Like it's
I'm sitting in front
maybe
of
the best quality you can listen to music on is vinyl. So that's why that doesn't go out of style. Whereas a VHS tape is objectively just way worse than a Blu-ray or 4K disc.
I still value the few VHS that I have. I have a VHS player in my parents' place.
I still kept all the ones I got as a kid. Yeah,
that's awesome.
I keep them.
Yeah, they're not going anywhere.
Oh, I wish I did. Actually, it wasn't my choice. It wasn't my choice.
I'll still if I find some at Goodwill, like I'll buy them. If I find some cool ones I see like for $1, like I'm not trying to spend because VHS has kind of got out of control the past couple of years. Like if you go into a thrifting store, they've gone up to like $10, $12. They used to be $1 like across the board. Like they wouldn't sell them for any more than that, but it's got that market's kind of gone upwards. So
I guess I can't blame retailers for taking advantage of a market that doesn't have exactly a lot of competition.
Yeah, that's true. So how do you feel with the situation like what happened with like Oppenheimer when it came out on 4K where it sold out, but was that more of a condition of it sold out because a lot of people were interested in buying it, or was it because the demand but supply was so low that they were when people went to go get it it was that made it easy for it to sell out? Like what was that kind of a sign of?
I mean, I think it was a couple reasons. One, it was an extremely popular movie that did well. Wasn't that like Christopher Nolan's the best movie at the box office or something that he did?
Yeah, it made a lot of money.
Who saw that coming? So there was definitely a lot of interest there to have that movie. Also, I feel like the people that are fans of Nolan are like diehard fans of Nolan, and they want to own his movies like no other filmmaker. I feel like maybe Tarantino. People want to own his stuff. And also, it helps that you have the actual filmmaker come out and say, hey, buy this physically. Like if you're a fan of movies, if you're a fan of my stuff, like go out and support this and buy it. So I think that helped as well. And it was a beautiful 4K too. Like it was one of the best of the year.
I haven't watched it yet. I was one of the ones that I was talking about that I ordered on Boxing Day, and it's still in the wrapping.
And an 80-minute documentary on the movies included in that. Like they don't ever include special features like that anymore in new releases. You may get like 5 or 10-minute making of featurette, but that's it. So there was a lot of draws to buy that physically, I think.
Like remember audio commentaries? Like no, not anymore. Not so much anymore. Yeah. That's like all those things I used to love about, love about having movies like that, because you're learning about the whole process of something that you enjoy watching, and now a lot of the stuff that comes out is just bare bones basic, unless like you said, some of these like movie fans that are working for these companies that want to put all this kind of work into certain releases because they know people will be interested in getting them, especially if they're fans of the work as well. But yeah, I wish all the releases were like that, but that's not the case, I guess.
I wonder, and this I guess this is something for both of you to see if you've heard of anything like this. I'm just curious if maybe like up and coming filmmakers that are inspired by the Tarantinos and Nolans that are working today might like campaign for like these conditions and contracts with movies that they make in the future to have physical releases as part of the marketing or promotion. Like I wonder if that could be something.
I think that's something they should definitely try to do. I mean, I don't understand why any filmmaker wouldn't want their movies preserved physically. To me, like a movie that's a streaming exclusive, because of everything that's happened the past couple of years, stuff just getting erased and wiped and pulled off. Why would you want your stuff to potentially be lost in history? Your hard work just lost. Like maybe you own a copy of it, but you made it for everybody to enjoy, to be a part of film history. And if they erase it from streaming and there's no other way to get it, then it's essentially erased from history and your work is gone, So
when you say it like that, I guess I'm surprised that there's not more of an uproar over these things from filmmakers themselves. I know
I don't get it.
I don't get it either.
I don't get it at all. Like I don't even consider a movie on streaming or a television show real unless it gets a physical release.
I don't argue with that at all. I subconsciously
that's not a real movie. That's a Netflix movie. And I don't mean that as a slight against the actual movie. Like it could be a great film. But if it doesn't have a physical release, then it's not a real movie. I have to just get it out of my head that it's real because it could just be taken away from me.
It's a product
in a couple of years. Yeah.
Yeah. More than a piece of art, work of art.
Yeah. I think I've heard some filmmakers and even writers kind of have like a lot of negative things to say about, like you said, Ken, like they want their stuff to be preserved. They want to be able to find it. I was reading somewhere like there was like a TV show, I forgot what TV show it was, they pulled it off a streaming service, and one of the writers of that show was like, well, now I can't, I would love to be able to share that more with people and have them find it, and now they can't. Like this is something I worked on for X amount of years and put all this time into, and now I can't really share that anymore. It's gone. And and then this is also important too for people who make stuff like this. A lot of these sales, there was residuals and stuff that kind of came with like selling physical copies of movies, and there was incentive there, and that incentive kind of changed when streaming became bigger and physical media kind of went below that. And a lot of things that people worked hard on for a really long time, they're not getting what they kind of deserve from it. Like they put all their hard work into. And I know personally, if I was a filmmaker or a writer and this thing that I was super proud of, no one could find it anymore. That would be very disheartening and a little depressing that, that I couldn't share that with everyone anymore. And like you said, I could have a physical one of my own, but like, you want to share your work with the masses and kind of have a collective experience with them.
I don't think writers and books, I don't think we ever have anything to worry about with books, to be honest, because they've kind of stood the test of time. Like they've been around forever. And the thing about books is like, when you're experiencing a book, you're always holding it. With a movie, you put the disc in, and then unless you're just really into the quality and you can really pick out the differences, you could be watching on streaming, you could be watching on physically. It doesn't matter when you're actually watching the movie. When you're reading a book, like you feel the pages in your hand, you feel the cover, you're turning the pages. It's a whole experience. That's why
Right.
that's why the e-readers and all that stuff, people still use them, but they kind of faded out, it feels like, and people are just full on back into owning books again.
That's a funny comparison. I remember for Christmas one year, would have been probably early to mid 2010s. I don't know when the e-readers and Kindles and stuff took off, but my dad actually bought one for my mother and I. We're both big, huge fans of literature, more so back in the day. My book reading has definitely taken a backseat to film watching, but we both said, you know what, Dad, we're not going to use this. We like having the actual book. So he returned it. So
there's something about it. Like we're physical beings. Like, so we like to touch stuff and feel the tangible items in our hands and experience that stuff. And with books, it's the whole experience. So I don't feel like you can ever take that away. Now with a movie, like, it's really awesome to get to hold my 4K of Conan the Barbarian in my hands, and take it in. And there's a book in here as well. But when I take the disc out and put it in the player, that's where it ends. Sometimes I do hold the case though when I watch the movie. I might be reading stuff on the back while I'm kind of checking out the 4K, but most of the time I put the case on the floor and I'm watching the movie. I'm in the movie. So,
but. Yeah. Do you think a lot of this too is, there's less people wanting to buy some of this stuff? Like we mentioned the pricing and stuff before. Like, is that it's also it can be a pretty expensive hobby if you want to really,
and especially the way things are now with the economy and inflation, like people have to make tough choices. Like you have to be able to live, you have to be able to support your family, put food on the table, pay your rent. Like you can't afford to be spending all this money on physical media. I'm very fortunate that I think you said it as well, I get copies from studios and things like that, and I've got an entire channel where I talk about physical media and I get ad revenue and stuff from views, and I'm able to kind of supplement my collecting through that. But not everybody has that. I certainly haven't always had that. Like I was on a very strict budget, back in the day. I've got all kinds of stuff now, but that's kind of because I've made my hobby kind of almost like a second job. So, but I understand not everybody has that kind of budget to be able to do that kind of stuff. So with less and less people buying, and those people that are buying not being able to afford everything, that could definitely factor in, because a lot of these companies, they're asking a lot right now for some of these releases. You get good stuff. Some of them do very good work, and it's a fair price for what they're doing, but it is a premium product and it is expensive. And, you might be able to only buy one or two, when back in the day you could go to Walmart and buy like 5 new releases because they were $10 or $15 on Blu-ray.
Yeah. That's why my friends never understood. You brought up the whole blind buying thing before. My friends have never gotten that. They were like, why would you waste money on something you haven't watched before? And I was like, sometimes it is that whole, like, that's what I miss about going to the store and getting some of these things, because it is about something that, cover art might like catch your eye, or something about it catches your eye, and you're like, hey, I might like it. There is also that option in your mind, like, hey, if I don't like it, I can return it, like whatever. But I've never did that. I was like, yeah, you know what? I bought it. I'm sticking with it. And most of the stuff I've, done blind buys for, I've enjoyed them for the most part. Like I usually kind of know what my tastes are going to be like, so it's not really a high risk kind of thing. But yeah, they never really understood, like, because I used to do that a lot. Like there would be like one movie that came out that week that I saw in theaters, and like 3 other ones that I didn't. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna buy all of them.
I don't know about you guys, but like we change as people throughout time. So like how you feel about a movie 5 years ago and how you're going to feel about it, today could be completely different. So I keep movies that I didn't like very much on the shelf, because maybe I'll watch it in 10 years and I'll love it, because I'll have a different perspective. So I always, some people aren't like that. They're like, I hate it and I'm always going to hate it and I'll never watch it again. And there are some movies that I never want to watch again, like Rise of Skywalker. I never want to watch again.
I'm with you. But some are irredeemable for sure.
And there's some horror movies I get from Vinegar Syndrome and some of the other labels that I'm like, that was just trash. I'll probably never put that in the player again. But I still keep it because it's got cool artwork on it and a nice booklet. So it's got that kind of value to it.
It's good for the background imagery.
Yeah, for sure.
That's hilarious. Yeah, I went with my buddy to go get his new TV like 2 weeks ago. and oh wait, maybe it was like a week ago, and he was like looking around at Best Buy, and there was like nothing there anymore. So he was like, it's so weird that they're selling these like high end TVs and home theater systems here, and there's like no movies to buy. And then like it was funny, the guy in the store kept kind of, because they had like a football game on to kind of display what the TV would look like, and he was like, well, this looks great, but I would love to know what like a film looked like on this TV. And like it's so weird that like they don't have stuff like this here anymore.
It sounds
like they're selling all this stuff that you would need to.
Oh, well, why do you need a physical copy? We got Netflix on here. You can
right.
A smart TV.
Oh, I mean, I have a smart TV and I love it, but like my TV is worthless to me without my Blu-ray player right underneath it.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm not against streaming at all. I'm subscribed to a lot of streaming services. I mean, it's the only way you can watch some of these exclusive TV shows and movies and stuff. And it's also good for sampling stuff. Like Tubi's a great resource. Like almost all the boutique stuff that's coming out, like you can find that movie on Tubi. You know, I'll always suggest that people check it out on Tubi before they actually spend $60 on like a premium boutique release of some obscure horror film from the 80s or 70s. But yeah, I mean, I love streaming. You know, I watch a lot of stuff on streaming.
It's a love-hate that I have with streaming.
Yeah. It's not, I don't want it to be the only thing, but it's as a part of, you know, getting more people into movies. Like physical media and streaming could work together. You know, they could operate. The more people we can get into loving movies and appreciating film, the better. So if streaming's that avenue to get there for some people, then I think it's a good thing. But I just think that you always need that physical copy to back up the actual film, you know?
Yeah, I agree.
Very true.
Is there any for, you know, other than the issue of ownership, is there anything that you could tell people when if they were to say like, hey, like I don't need a physical copy of that, I can find it on a streaming service? Is there any other like technical kind of advantages to having a physical media copy over being able to watch it on streaming, whether it's like video quality, sound quality, anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, obviously I don't live in the best area for like streaming. I feel like most of the time my streaming looks pretty good, but there's a lot of times where it's like buffering and all that kind of stuff. So I'd say just from a quality perspective, like physical is always going to be better than streaming visually and audio wise as well. The other advantage is if you want to dig deeper into the movies, you're not going to get the special features and behind the scenes info and all that kind of stuff on these movies that you watched. But sometimes that's a hard sell. People don't care about that kind of stuff. And I didn't used to care about it back in the day. Like when I was collecting DVDs and stuff, I would watch like some funny deleted scenes and outtakes, but I wasn't into watching. I didn't listen to a ton of audio commentaries back when they first started coming out. So, I mean, I get it, but I'm super into it now because I'm into this stuff now, and I've been watching all the special features for all these releases. So,
I think one very underrated advantage to having a physical copy is you don't need an internet connection to watch that movie. You are really pretty much a slave to the network. And if Leave the World Behind taught us here recently, it's funny how that movie really.
I didn't watch that movie, but everybody keeps talking about how it's pro message for physical media at the end.
Yeah, so. Exactly. On Netflix too, which is kind of crazy.
They do shout themselves out because she's using a smart TV and there's a Netflix button you can clearly see on the remote. I mean, I'd let you make up your own mind. I didn't think very highly of the movie, but I did like.
You gave it a scathing little.
Yeah, I did not care for it.
That's why I didn't waste my time with it because I didn't hear the best things about it.
Yeah, and I had heard that too.
It's like 2.5 hours, and I'm so sick of like every damn movie these days being 2.5 hours or 3 hours.
And it didn't earn it. I feel I have no problem with a movie like Oppenheimer or Killers of the Flower Moon.
Yeah, I mean, we just watched that the other day, Killers of the Flower Moon, which I think, you know, it was necessary for that to be 3.5 hours, but it was still long. And me and my wife's going to watch a movie like that. Like, we got to break it up into 2 nights.
Yeah.
But no, to your point, like I've literally been sitting down here before when our internet's gone out watching a movie and I hear everybody scuttling up there because they're all watching Netflix and playing games, Xbox Live, Fortnite and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
my wife's on her phone. Oh, we don't have internet. I'm just sitting down here. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm all good.
Yeah,
I'm watching my physical 4K.
Yeah, that's the
So,
best.
yeah.
So do you have your own kind of like man cave for all like this? What your whole setup is set up in? Like it's your
Yeah,
own
pretty much.
personal
We finished my basement. That's pretty much what got me into YouTube as well, because I didn't really have a space upstairs to shoot videos and things like that. We finished our basement back in 2019, and I asked if we could do my own room down here. So that's what this is, and this is for all
Nice.
my movies and whatever else I want to shove in here. And then out there we have like a living room area that I usually watch the stuff on 4K TV and all that.
nice.
I got a pretty decent TV now, but I definitely need to get some better upgrades for my sound and stuff. I've got a sound bar that kind of simulates that Atmos and 5.1 with a subwoofer, but I would love to get like the full legitimate setup someday.
Gaze, you have a surround sound, don't you?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
It's a blessing and a curse. I mean, I love it, and then sometimes I'm watching stuff and like my brother's been here and he's like, "What the hell were you like? It sounds like something just exploded in your room." I was like, "I know, that's the point."
The thing about it is like I watch so many movies at night while people are sleeping. So it's like if I had the
Yeah.
sound, like I would rarely get to use it like
Fair
I
enough.
would want to. Like I would have to wait till everybody left or something to be able to use it. But no, I got I broke down and got like an OLED C2 model like a couple of years ago, and it's a great TV. Like I noticed such a big difference because I had like an $800. I forget what brand my old TV was, but it wasn't a great 4K TV, and I was watching 4Ks on it. But when I switched TVs, I was like about 2 or 3 years ago, I was like, holy crap! Like I've been missing out this whole time. So I've been appreciating my 4Ks on a whole new level past couple of years.
Jackson, what do you have? Like, what's your setup? Like TV and
So I'm in an apartment, so I don't have much for surround like a sound, but I got a nice. I have a 4K player. I think my dad treated me to this TV a few years ago. I believe it's a smart TV. It's a Samsung, and I believe it has 4K abilities. But to be honest, like I'm still very much new in the 4K game, still learning a lot about that medium. So I don't have like great experience with it, but I believe my Blu-ray player is a 4K player, but I'm just pretty much just rocking the TV, which it's fantastic. But definitely when I get my own place, eventually, housing market notwithstanding, that will be a priority of mine, is to have a nice man cave downstairs, surround sound, and make all the appropriate upgrades for sure. But I mean, I got to be conscious of people above, below, and beside me right now. So, and I listen to movies loud as it is.
Turn that down.
Luckily, no one's had issue yet, but I could feel like I could get carried away.
Yeah, it's more the subwoofer could be an issue. That's the
Definitely.
thing.
I feel like my soundbar and subwoofer can kick pretty good though sometimes, because when I was watching Top Gun Maverick on it, like I had that thing cranked all the way up, and it was just like reverberating the walls in the basement, and
yeah,
I felt it. But
I remember
I was just listening to it off the TV speakers before that. So
I remember the worst was watching Tenet was an ordeal because it was like the dialogue.
See, when I watched
soft,
when I watched that, I didn't have it. So yeah, that was just a mess of a movie anyway. I struggled to get through that for sure. Sound wise, I was like, what did he say? I listened to a lot of movies with subtitles anyway, but
see, I can't do that. I get distracted by it. I know, Jackson, you've mentioned that before. You're like, oh, subtitles would help, like sometimes having them on, or like
for me.
And I can't do. I get so distracted by unless I'm watching like a foreign film and I have to like pay attention to them.
Right.
Yeah. But like I get so distracted by them being there, and I'm like, ugh.
When it's a foreign film, you have to like concentrate on them. But when it's just a regular movie, I like them down there just in case I feel like I might have missed something.
There's lots of
keeps me
details.
And I'm getting older, and it's just like my hearing's not great, I feel like. So if I listen to it without it, And especially at night when I'm trying to watch something, I got to turn down a little bit lower. I don't want to miss anything because I'll be like, oh, did I miss something? And I'll have to rewind it. So I keep them down there kind of as a safety net, you know.
True. I will use them religiously unless like I do have some DVDs and stuff that don't have them as an option. It's pretty rare, but it really irks me when I don't have the options to have subtitles. But for me, even more than just picking up on missed dialogue, I love like sometimes you'll have like a conversation that lacks some sort of pivotal context. Like for instance, if like two characters are discussing a book or something and you don't recognize like that title, but you can tell that they're talking about a book or a play because it's italicized. It's like, oh, that helps you piece together a little bit more of the conversation. That's what I love about subtitles as well. But yeah, no, I struggle to.
Now I was watching this foreign film today, finishing it, but it's called The Facts of Murder. It's an Italian crime thriller from like 1959. And it was a good movie, but like the subtitles, they were talking so fast. They were just like moving like super quick, unlike anything I've ever seen before. So I was like struggling to keep up with that. I'm like, hold on now.
That would be challenging.
I'm not that fast for a reader. So I was having to like rewind it a couple of times.
They are fast talkers. Yeah.
That's hilarious. Crazy. I wanted to ask you this because your collection is so vast, and just see if you can remember. Do you remember the first DVD or Blu-ray that you
I was going to ask too
for yourself?
The first DVD would have been when I was in high school, and I want to say it was either Spider-Man, the first one with Tobey Maguire, 2002, or Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring. One of those two. I remember the first DVDs we ever owned, I think was in 2000. And if I'm talking about just my family having them, I don't think I bought them. Mission to Mars, Brian Palma's Mission to Mars, and Mission Impossible 2. So 2 mission movies.
2 mission movies.
Those are the first DVDs I remember us owning. But the ones I actually bought myself would have been in 2002 when I first started working. Would have been like Signs, maybe, Lord of the Rings, and Spider-Man. So I feel like it was one of those 3.
That's funny because so again, there's a difference too. Like I had DVDs that I inherited that my parents just left flying around my house. But when I first started actually collecting, it was like grade 10 or grade 11, and that's what in Canada. So I was a sophomore, I guess. And I remember going to a Walmart in a neighboring town, and mom treated me to them, but I was like just shopping around, and I got a Resident Evil 4 movie pack, the first 4, and the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Those are the first 2 sets of movies. And back then I was like, I want to get as many movies as I can for as little money as possible. So that's in my mind, I was like seven movies.
You're like, it's a deal.
Yeah, and now I still every time my eyes go over them, I'm like, yep, they were there from the start with me. It's funny that Lord of the Rings is there for you too.
Now, when you started collecting DVDs, did you all full on just leave VHS behind, or do you remember buying both at the same time? Because I do. I used to buy all my horror movies on VHS, like because I love Friday the 13th, Halloween movies. Like I owned all those on VHS.
I love that analog look to VHS, if that's the right terminology. But VHS were never a retail option by the time that I was. And
I was a huge pro wrestling fan when I was a kid, so I was also buying a ton of WWE pay-per-views on VHS.
I do remember going full stop buying VHSs after DVD came out. But and I love my mother to death, but the reason I don't have VHS tapes anymore is they were put in our garage. They were put in our garage and storage, but still like wanted them. And my mother, notorious when she cleans house, sometimes she doesn't ask like, "Hey, do we still need this?" So she just threw them out. She just threw them out, and I was like, "Why did you do that?" She's like, "You have DVDs now. Like, why?" Does it matter?
My heart goes.
Some of those could be going for hundreds of dollars on eBay.
I know.
Right now. I'm telling you, the VHS market's really picked up.
She did that with my comic books too, man. It was like they were in the garage, and
I was never a comic book collector, but I can sympathize with that. Sure.
If my mom thinks something is cluttered, she will throw it out for sure. And then she feels bad. She feels bad now. I mean, all those years later, like, hey, those were like.
I'm sure she had known the value to you. She would have held on.
Yeah.
But I think lucky my parents. No, go ahead and finish.
Oh no, I want to say my first DVD I remember getting was The Matrix. That was the one.
Okay, I was going to ask.
Remember.
Yeah.
distinctly remember that one, and I remember it looking so cool when I first popped it in. Like all that stuff looks so new and fresh the first time you watch like a DVD, and then of course you get into like blue. Now it's funny, as I remember when HD DVD and Blu-ray came out, and there was like a competition. I actually still have my HD DVD player and a few movies from it, even though it lost that battle between Blu-ray.
Yeah, I waited it out, and I never got HD DVD. But once I figured out who was winning, I remember the first Blu-ray I bought was either Tropic Thunder or Cloverfield. I think it was one of those two.
Nice.
So it was 2008. I bought my first Blu-ray, and I know it had been out, a couple of years before then, but I was still buying DVDs. I was always like, I don't need that crap. But I used to play games. Like I was a big gamer, like in the 2000s, Xbox 360, PS3. For some reason in my head, I was like, I need HD for my games, but not for my movies.
I took a while to move over to Blu-rays too, and I got to thank my buddy Cameron for sort of like revealing the value of them to me. Because to me, back in the day, even until like fairly recently, last few years, I didn't care to know the difference. It was like, oh, I'm getting the physical copy. That's what matters. But I've come around, and now it's
especially I was like, I was already 500-600 movies deep into DVD. I'm like, I'm not giving these. I'm not upgrading this. Come on,
that's right.
Now.
That was the thing for me.
Now I'm doing it all the time.
Yeah.
It can be kind of jarring for some of them now when you're looking at like a DVD and then you happen to have one on 4K and you watch it and you're just like, Jesus, or even Blu-ray. Sometimes it's such a huge difference.
I can barely watch a DVD.
But I would never get rid of them though. I mean, I have friends that are like, I've bought movies on Blu-ray and 4K now where I've already had them on DVD.
No, what I do now,
the same movie 3 times over,
because things have gotten so bad with the studios wanting to upgrade their movies or license them out. I mean, if I see a movie out at Goodwill and I'm like, does that have a Blu-ray or any thrifting spot, and it doesn't have a Blu-ray, I just buy it on DVD. Because I don't know at this point if it's going to get upgraded or not.
Yep, that's why I'll still buy a DVD too if I'm not sure.
Because I would definitely rather have a physical copy of it than nothing.
Exactly.
Yeah, I would rather that. I mean, I still have all my copies of Halloween on DVD. I think that's probably the movie I own the most copies of.
Mm-hmm.
I think I have like 5 or 6 copies of Halloween.
Yeah, I still got most of the Halloweens on VHS. Most of them are on DVD, Blu-ray. And I got them all on 4K except for Rob Zombie's Halloween's. They haven't done 4Ks of those.
They haven't done them, okay. and I wonder if I would get it. I kind of wonder if I would get it. I would maybe get.
I would maybe get the first one with a passion. I saw that in 2007 in the theaters. I appreciate the second one more. It's not a great movie either, but there's at least he's not trampling all over the legacy of the franchise with that movie. He's kind of doing his own thing.
Right.
So I appreciate it. And it's a pretty brutal, gory movie. I think the hospital scene in the beginning is pretty damn good.
Yeah.
But I despise like the entire origin story of the first one. It just pissed me off so bad. Like I remember I was fuming in the theaters, and it's rare that a movie can come out and act and make me less of a fan of a franchise. And that one, I feel like there was the Halloween fan of me before that movie, and then there's a Halloween fan of me now, and it's not as passionate anymore.
Yeah,
I don't know why.
I've told Jackson that's theatrical experience seeing that movie. I love Halloween is like one of my favorite movies, and I remember seeing that remake in theaters, and I was just so mad. Like I walked out of it so mad. I appreciate a little things about it now where I can like be entertained by it. I can't be entertained by it. I watched
second half. I mean, it's a solid remake of the first movie in the second half, but I can't get past that bullshit in the beginning. It just
the beginning
it kills me.
And that second one, I hated myself. By the
Michael
time
Myers
I rewatched it again,
getting bullied and killing hamsters. I'm like, that's not Michael Myers. Come on now. I try not to be precious about these characters, and let the filmmakers do their own thing. It's their Rob Zombie's vision, but come on, that's
the thing. I'm kind of a Rob Zombie apologist, and so I watch it more.
I like a lot of his movies.
Right.
I like House of a Thousand Corpses and Devil's Rejects.
Yeah. Oh, you got him there?
I was reaching for this. Oh, here, I got it right here, actually. They did this awesome box set of House of a Thousand Corpses this year.
This is
like spectacular. I hope they do Devil's Rejects. This is a great movie. This holds up wonderfully.
Yeah,
I gotta rewatch it again. I it was like, hey, do you want a copy? And I never turned anything down for free, so I was like, yeah, I'll take it. And it actually came in the mail. My friend was there, and he was like, you don't even like this movie. I was like, I might one day again. We'll see. I'll give it a shot.
I had Hellbilly Deluxe in my CD Walkman player like nonstop when I was in 8th grade. Like I was a huge Rob Zombie fan. I was excited when he got into making movies. So I was so excited to watch this Halloween, and I was just I was so let down. One of the most disappointing theatrical experiences of my life.
Yeah. That was kind of the dilemma that I had when they had like, because they have like the Halloween movies that they release individually on 4K, and then with like, I know H2O got like an individual release, but they have that like box set that has like, they had that box set that has like the lesser ones. I was like, all right, okay. At the time, I was like, I want H2O. I don't want.
Oh, I got it.
But I was like, do I buy this even though I don't really want those other two?
It went down to like $60 recently.
I did see that. It was way too expensive at first. I was like,
I like Curse of Michael Myers though. I like, and it's interesting because it has the producer's cut and the theatrical cut in it, both in 4K. And I didn't realize like how different they are, but it really is like you're watching two different movies.
Totally different movie. I mean, it's not like a great either one's not a great movie for me, but like the
they're not going in my top 5 of the franchise or nothing. But like I like all those movies. I even like Resurrection because I saw it in the theaters.
I saw it in theaters too
when I was 16 or 17. So I think it was like the first Halloween movie I saw in the theaters. So I'm just nostalgic for it. It's dumb, but it's I was a kid, and it's okay. That 4K was probably the weakest they did though, because it's all like found footage, reality show style. So there wasn't really a lot to improve upon there.
And I think you mentioned it earlier with A Nightmare on Elm Street. But is there anything that you want to see come out on 4K that you'd be kind of dying? Like we should have that the 4K edition.
Yeah, I mean, I just did a couple of videos about that. Just like 10 movies I wanted to come to 4K, and I could literally do 1,000 of those videos. There's just so much.
How do you keep track of what has a 4K release and what doesn't?
I mean, at this point, I pretty much have a good gauge. I pretty much covered this stuff since 4K began. Like I feel like I was doing at least like new release posts, and just from memory, I feel like I have a pretty good gauge on what has a 4K and what doesn't. And if I ever am unsure, I just look on Blu-ray.com and see if it does or not.
When did 4K come in? Like when did that begin?
2016.
2016. Okay.
But to answer your question, besides Nightmare on Elm Street, one off the top of my head that I want is Jim Carrey's The Mask on 4K.
Oh, that'd be actually kind of cool. Actually,
I think that would look
cool visual. It's some cool visuals.
Like a nice box set of that. But I mean, there's still so many like big movies that don't have 4Ks. Like Lethal Weapon franchise doesn't have a 4K.
Oh, that's crazy.
Wow.
Like those should have 4Ks. Disney's just holding on to everything that we love that needs a 4K, like Armageddon. I would love a 4K of Con Air, all those action movies from the 90s, Broken Arrow. Speaking of, Shyamalan, you got Signs and Sixth Sense, and they did Unbreakable and stuff. And then The Village doesn't even have a Blu-ray.
I didn't even realize
it's
that.
Still stuck on DVD, and I'm not even a big fan of The Village.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing.
It at least deserves a Blu-ray.
Yeah. Totally.
The Happening has a freaking Blu-ray.
Oh my gosh!
Give The Village a Blu-ray. Last Airbender has a Blu-ray.
If The Happening can have one, then The Village can have one.
I think all of his movies do, except for The Village.
Wow. Strange. I know that movie wasn't like popular of his, but I've never like when I came around to watching The Village, I wasn't one of those people that like the twist kind of worked for me. I never really got the animosity for it, so I'm surprised that it doesn't even have a Blu-ray. I know it wasn't well received, but
you could feel that disdain in the theater, man.
Fair enough. I
didn't like it.
Far inferior films than The Village for sure.
Because he was on the roll. I mean, it was a solid.
I wasn't there for the beginning.
Signs is legitimately like in my top 20 movies of all time. I love that movie.
It's really good.
Love it.
Fair enough.
Yeah, he has 6.
But people were even critical of Signs when it came out. Like the aliens they die from water. Like why would they come to a planet covered in water? I'm like, maybe they didn't know where they were landing. I don't know.
Sometimes you just can't be too analytical.
Yeah. God. Yeah, that twist in The Village. I was like, that's okay, but they work for you. So
Yeah, no,
I wanted those. I wanted those creatures. Sorry, spoiler alert if you haven't seen The Village, but I wanted those creatures to be real. I really
Is that 20
did.
years
Yeah.
old?
Because
This
the trailer was so cool for that movie. Like it got you so
yeah. The
excited
trailer
and
was
hyped and,
amazing.
I agree. I would have rather it be genuinely supernatural. Like I would have absolutely preferred it go that way. But I remember watching it for the first time and being genuinely tricked and being like, okay, that is an original direction I wouldn't have seen coming. So
yeah, and I mean, he kind of became famous for that, just like subverting your expectations and doing something different. So it makes sense that he, did something like that. I haven't seen The Village in a while, so maybe I need to go back and rewatch
you're right,
it.
Jackson. It turns 20 in July. Maybe we'll have to revisit it.
that would be a fun little episode for us, I think.
Because I
like
legit haven't watched it. I watched it in a long time. Yeah, I do too.
I mean, I think he's got more hits in my opinion than he does misses.
Yeah, I agree.
So, and I actually like the movie Lady in the Water. Like I revisited it like a couple of years ago, and it's not great, but there's some interesting stuff going on. You got Paul Giamatti in it, and he's good. And,
is Saoirse Ronan the lead?
No, it's Bryce Dallas Howard.
It's Howard, yeah.
Okay.
Because she did The Village.
No, I fell asleep in the theater watching it back in 2006 or whatever it came out, but I enjoyed it when I rewatched it a few years ago. I was like, there's some interesting stuff going on. It's like a dark fantasy, it's.
I think I'm thinking of The Lovely Bones for Saoirse Ronan. Maybe that's what I was thinking of.
Yeah,
Peter Jackson. Yeah, that was her first movie, I think, or one of her first big movies.
By the way, he does have great trailers for his movies. The Happening has a really good trailer too. It's
The Happening is a glorious disaster of a film. That movie is so entertaining, like for all the wrong reasons, and he didn't intend any of them. But
no,
I remember watching that for the first time. I was rolling the entire time. So
love the concept of that movie. I remember the trailer. I was a youngin' when that came out. I was only 10 when seeing those trailers of the people jumping off the buildings, and I was like, "What is going on?"
I would actually consider The Happening a hit of Shyamalan,
but not in the way that it was intended. Like
not in the way it was intended.
Yeah,
but I love Unbreakable and Split, and I was actually a fan of Glass. Some people rebelled on Glass. I thought it was good. I liked it.
I was split on, which, which I didn't even intend that, but I was 50-50. I thought his return with The Visit was a good, strong.
Visit's
return.
awesome.
Yeah,
I love The Visit.
Was awesome.
Yeah, was another old was like it reminded me of The Happening. It was just kind of like it didn't go for it as big as The Happening, but it was still goofy as shit.
I feel like you walk out of The Happening, you're like, that wasn't a comedy. I thought it was a comedy. I don't know. That's the only way to enjoy it. You have to like Mystery Science 3000 The Happening, and that's the only way to like get any kind of enjoyment out of it. Because the first time you see it. Yeah, the first time you see it,
it's the trees. It's the trees.
Yeah, I know. I was, Jesus.
Oh boy.
All right, Jackson. Do you have anything else you want to?
Yeah, definitely. There's one question I guess I want to leave on if you don't have any after me. Is I guess when looking at the future, Ken, of physical media, let's call it just immediate future, because to your credit earlier, we can't really look too far in and know where things are going. So immediate future, 5-10 years. Are you feeling positive or negative about where things are headed? I know a lot of our earlier conversations seemed dismal, and that is certainly what I'm taking away from this. But I want to know if you feel that way, because you had a lot of good points.
Yeah, and you have to keep in mind, sometimes I can have a very cynical way at how I look at the world, and I can be a little negative sometimes. But I try to stay positive, but it's just hard to when you see all of the decisions that everybody's making and at a studio level. And it just feels like people are, the companies and stuff like that, besides the boutique labels that actually care about film, it just feels like they're over physical media and they want it to die. So when it feels like the people that are in charge of all these movies want it to die, that's why it can feel a little dismal as we head into the future. But I think the next 5 years you're probably going to see some of the coolest releases from boutique labels that you've seen ever. And there's going to be a lot of great stuff that comes out in the next 5 years. After that, I think you're going to see it wind down probably in a pretty big way.
Yeah.
I think you're still going to get some cool collector's editions and things like that, but it's not going to be like, I feel like right now we're in what a lot of people are calling, not just me, but like the golden age of physical media for collectors. Obviously you go back to 2000s, DVD was selling the most, and and it was a big market. But for like collector's editions and steel books and just so many releases, like we're really getting like 50 or 60 releases every week, but most people don't even know about them. But if you look on Blu-ray.com, like I'm covering them every single week on my channel. It's like Kino Lorber's putting out like 5 titles a week, and Warner Archives doing stuff, and all the studios are putting out stuff, and you're seeing like 50 or 60 titles some week. Some weeks come out.
Holy.
So like we're getting tons of movies coming out every single week on physical media. Just you're not seeing them in the store. So we're in the golden age right now. We're riding the highs. Still a lot of stuff that should be being put out that's not. But hopefully, they see that, the studios see that in the next couple of years, and they start licensing some more stuff out, and we start seeing some of the stuff from Disney, Touchstone, Hollywood Pictures, Fox stuff that we haven't seen yet, and they take advantage of it while it lasts. And after that, I don't know, because like I said, we're relying on the younger generation, and I'm not so convinced at this point in time that the art form of film, as we know it right now, and its popularity, is even going to survive the next 50 years. Actual movies themselves as an art form, they'll still be around. I'm just saying, not at the like super popular level they are now. Movies making billions of dollars at the theaters and things like that.
And I guess that, theaters themselves.
I'm not even talking the death of physical media anymore. I'm just talking about the death of movies at that point, because I think about that as the younger generation that's not as concerned with new movies and passionate about new movies and films and rewatching stuff. And because to me, to get to where we're at with our love for movies, you have to have that foundation. You have to build that love for film by watching movies over and over again, and being able to quote movies, and just having that deep love and passion. And I just don't see that in the younger generations that are moving up. And like I said, that could be fine. I guess they'll move on to something else,
Doesn't sound fine to me.
Video games, maybe virtual reality narrative storytelling will take shape, where they're actually just
that's a great point,
living out second lives. I know there was a game called Second Life, but like they're actually in virtual worlds, like freaking Ready Player One or something. And
that's
doing that kind of stuff
on the horizon for sure.
I don't know. It's times are changing. They're always going to continue to change, and I don't think that physical media is going to die anytime in the near future, but it definitely won't last forever, because a lot of stuff doesn't. So
it's the sad truth. So get your physical copies while you can.
Except for books. I think books are here to stay. They've stood the test of time. They've been around for thousands of years. Books are fine. Maybe vinyl too, but
I'm inclined to agree.
I don't know. It's sad. Hopefully I'm wrong.
My heart's a little heavy. I hope you are. My heart's heavy.
Yeah, I hope I'm wrong. Every day when I think about it, I'm like, hopefully, something happens and just movies become super popular again, and the kids want to start collecting, and the studios wake up and they realize that they got to capture the younger generation to keep themselves going. But it feels like everything's shrinking in the movie business. I don't know. It feels like we're getting like more stuff than we've ever gotten before, but at the same time, it feels like it's just getting so small.
Yep.
I think the studios are definitely in trouble the next 20, 30 years. I could see the rise of like the independents and movies.
That's something I would like to see.
But like I said, with the studios comes the popular films and the ones that everybody's seeing, the mainstream movies. So if we're just relegated to indie movies, that's when movies themselves become niche.
Yeah, I think you saw that a lot with the strikes too, where people were wanting to hey, there was a lot of discussion about well, let's make these movies outside of the studio system. Let's let them have less control, and there was that kind of push to do that. But you're right. There is the flip side of that is that it does become more niche. More independent movies become the norm, but everyone's not going to respond to
one
those.
Studio, and they're going to pump out billion-dollar movies with AI, and you can watch them inside the virtual world that all the kids are going to be hanging out in. And we'll all be in the real world making independent small movies for $500,000 or something.
Yeah.
If that, I do think there's an argument to be made that our home theaters will be on our faces in the next 5 to 10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
which
I
is
bought my son
interesting.
an Oculus.
Oh yeah.
I think it was like the MetaQuest 3 or something for Christmas. He's super into that
Okay.
stuff. Like he had the Oculus before that, but he's always in that thing playing.
Cool.
So yeah,
Definitely missed that.
I don't understand it. It makes me sick. But
I don't get it. But they love it.
But
they
what are we gonna do? I mean, look, movies. When did they start? Like when they start making movies? The 1800s. I know they were doing motion pictures, but like actual like movies were 1910s, 20s, 30s, 40s. It went decades without having physical ownership of movies. People just had to go to the theater to see it.
That's a great point.
So if you think about it in that way, we only really got to own this stuff like in the 80s. I know some people, there was some form of physical media in the 70s, I think people were telling me about, but we just had this small window where we actually got to own all these great movies that we loved. And, movies existed for decades before that. We didn't get to own them. And maybe they'll exist decades after and we won't get to own them too.
Maybe, you know what, I think there is a huge potential for what the virtual market can unleash. And maybe we'll be able to walk into our own virtual library and pick out any title we want. In a virtual world. Which cool.
That's exactly what it'll be.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't know if I like that. But we really will be living in the Matrix then, if we're not already.
Yeah,
who knows? Maybe this is my virtual library.
I know it's not real.
I don't know. It's crazy. I think about this stuff way too much, so I'm sorry. I zero off about craziness, but
no, it crosses my mind a lot too.
Yeah.
I'm glad that I can talk to someone like Jackson about it a lot because he also loves physical media and like it's important. And but I kind of have to realize, like, even when I do for work, I'll be excited for like a certain movie and a release, and it seems like everyone else I know is excited about it. But then I realize
that's why we all get together in this virtual
space
to talk about it. Nobody else shares our passion in real life.
So like, the casual, even though there's nothing, I mean, I would say that like Jackson is a part of the podcast as more of a casual movie goer and watcher, but he is even a little different from most people like that too, where like he gets into it a bit more than someone that's just like, I just want to watch something good in the moment and be done with it. I think a lot of people that casually enjoy movies now, you're right. They don't really, there is not a lot of rewatch, virtue for them. They're kind of like I saw it on the Friday. I don't need to see it again. There's no need for me to go buy it and watch it again. And that is something that we certainly grew up with, but yeah, you're right.
I took my son to watch Infinity War in the theaters, when he was like 8, and it blew his mind, and we had a great time, and he just thought it was fantastic. He never wanted to rewatch it again.
And that's crazy.
I bought the Fortnite. Hey, you want to watch Infinity War at home? No, I'm good.
Like, no.
I got Fortnite and Roblox to play on the computer. So
meanwhile, when I was younger, I was like playing. I would watch The Lost Boys, and then it would end, and I would rewind it and watch it again.
Yeah, we wore that stuff out. We got to where we knew those by heart. Like nobody, and I don't rewatch a lot of stuff now because I just have so many new things to watch. I'm just into discovering new stuff. But when I was a kid, it was like that's all I had. That's all I did because we had all the spare time in the world. But and that's all we had: VHS, DVDs, and
that's
what was on cable or the network. So there's definitely two minds. Physical media, I feel like people are always arguing. People are super into physical media. They're like, physical media is here to stay. It's alive and well. There's nothing to worry about, nothing to see here. And there's people that are like, it's dying, it's dead, it's done. Move on, stream all your stuff. I kind of fall somewhere in the middle of that. I feel like some days I feel like it could last forever, and other days I feel like it's literally being ripped out of my hands, and somebody's just going to come down here and grab it all and throw it into bags and put it at the end of my driveway
over my dead body.
Kicking and screaming.
Well,
hopefully with like, the stuff that you're doing and YouTube pages like yours, like I know a lot of people do what you're doing as well. And there seems to be a fan base in the market for it. People are so interested in learning about this stuff. So hopefully that will be part of the reason that stuff stays alive, because there's still
And I know I was very down on the new
it.
generations coming in, but there are younger people getting into this stuff every day, like passionate, film fans and stuff that think this stuff is cool. So there are younger people that are getting into this stuff.
Just less of them. That's all.
Just less of them. Yeah. It's just not the norm. It's not normal anymore. So
yeah,
for kids to do that.
Well, we'll still enjoy it then. Damn it.
That's right.
we'll
prop it up while we can.
We'll hold on to it.
We're not here for a long time, though. We're here for a good time.
That's right.
It's a good time.
Enjoy it.
Enjoy it. Yeah, for sure.
Speaking of good times, I had a great time with this conversation. This was a very enlightening episode. I had my suspicions about the state of physical media before speaking with you, Ken, and now I can no longer remain blissfully ignorant. You opened my eyes to a lot of things, and I don't know whether to thank you or condemn you in certain ways. I'm feeling a little dismal, but I
don't take everything I say as 100% fact. The only thing I have to go on is just what I see and the trends that I see and the people that subscribe to me that talk about it and just all the chatter that I hear from everybody. I feel like I'm in the middle of all this stuff.
You certainly lend a great insight, and we appreciate what you've brought to the episode today.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate y'all having me. Thank you so much for having me on the podcast. I always have a great time talking movies and physical media. So
that's what we have in common. Well, if you ever like to do it again, just reach out, man.
Absolutely.
Sure. And if anything, you inspired me to buy more shelving for my movies. I need to revamp.
I'm going to try to break into that box right after we get off of here.
I need to get my ass in gear.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Ken, for joining us on this very special episode of Back to the Blockbuster, talking physical media and the state of physical media. We have been wanting to do this episode for a really long time, so we're very excited that you want to come on and be on with us to discuss it. As always, if you guys want to hear more from our special guest, we're going to be linking all of his stuff at the bottom of the description of this episode. So his YouTube channel, which, before we sign off, you can tell everyone where they can kind of find you. Well, we're going to link it too, but, just to give you a little another shout out mention.
Yeah, I'm Mid-Level Media on YouTube and Instagram and Twitter, and I'm on TikTok as well. I'd like to get more active on there. I try, but I'm not really into the short form stuff as much. I try to do it, but I feel like I fail miserably. So yeah, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, or X, or whatever the hell it's called now. Those are my four main places that I'm the most active on.
Still calling it Twitter. You're all good.
Yeah, not on Threads yet, but maybe this year sometime. Feels like it died the same day.
Yeah, literally.
Again, appreciate y'all having me on, and I talk physical media all the time. I try to keep this stuff alive.
Well, thanks for what you do. We all love it.
But I'm trying hard.
Well, we're happy to contribute by having you be on here and talking about it, and hopefully more people will listen and try to keep this medium alive, because we all are really passionate about it, and we know that there is an audience for it. They just need to know where to get all this stuff, still know exactly what they're getting, and not really feeling entirely dismal when they hear stores like Best Buy are going to stop selling stuff like this. There are other ways to get these movies.
Absolutely,
find them.
Yeah.
So
don't get me wrong. You can find a lot of stuff online, and there's a lot of great sites out there, that can import stuff from other countries that are doing incredible releases as well. Yeah, tons of places.
So we want to make sure that everyone knows that, and thank you for letting everyone know that as well. This has been episode, 147?
That's right.
Back to the Blockbuster. Wow. Jesus Christ, we are cruising through these almost at 150. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, we're going to start talking about that here soon.
I know we do. Thank you guys for listening. As always, you can find us wherever you get your podcasts, whether it be Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Good Pods. They are all very good, but we need to shout out the Playlist Studio app, because they are our playlist network, and they are very, very good to us. And they have a collection of other really, really good shows on their platform. So if you also want to find us there, you can find us in the iOS store or the Google Play Store if you happen to have one of those pesky Samsung Android phones and not an Apple iPhone like the rest of us. In addition to that, we have some more good stuff coming. We will soon be on YouTube, so you can see our beautiful faces along with listening to us as well. I guess next up for us will be counting down our top 10 movies of 2023. We keep pushing this episode back because we're just trying to still watch a couple things.
Yeah, I haven't made my list either. Trying to.
Yeah, it's difficult. We're trying. I think we stalled. We
needed some extra time. Yeah.
Yeah. So we are going to finally do that. And we'll also talk about some of our least favorite movies, but we won't make it too mean. I got a message about it, like making sure that it's not me when we talk about our least favorite movies. It won't be.
Just don't say anything about Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, damn. It's a masterpiece. I'm tired of people putting out on the worst stuff. I got an incredible Umbrella edition down there. Incredible release.
But yeah, we have a lot of great content coming to you in the next few weeks, and we're really excited about it. But this is one of the ones we are really excited for and proud of, and we hope to do more of these episodes again in the future, whether it be with Ken here or anyone new. So thank you guys for listening. As always, Jackson, Ken, thank you, and we will see you next time.
Yes, take care, everyone. Thanks for tuning in.
Y'all.